what's going on? I'm really excited to be here today because it feels like an eternity since I've last chatted with you guys. I was kind of AWOL, off the grid for a little while because I was a little busy getting married. And it was awesome. Me and Mitch are doing really great. We've moved into our new house, and yeah, adjusting to married life is pretty crazy. But I'm also very excited to get back into routine with the book club, and I'm proud to say that I didn't fall behind on my reading at all. I got my TBR done, and that is what I'm here to talk to you guys about, my March and April wrap-up. I had 8 books on my TBR list for these 2 months, and all of them were suggestions that I took from Mitch in honor of us getting married in March. He suggested a bunch of books that he really enjoyed, and I read them, and for the most part, I really enjoyed them as well, so I am excited to dive into this and tell you all about it. Let's get started. Out of the books that Mitch chose for me was The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto, and I chose this first because I had heard a lot of good things about it, and I also am kind of familiar with Mitch Albom. I've read Tuesdays with Morrie. I don't remember a lot about it, but I just remember how it made me feel and how much I liked it. And so I was really excited to dive into this one. The description also sounded really good to me. This book is about a boy named Frankie Presto who grew up in Spain during the war. He ended up coming to America in the bottom of a boat, being snuck to America in the bottom of a boat. The only thing he had with him was his guitar and his skill for playing the guitar. The cool thing about Frankie Presto is that when he played the guitar, his guitar playing actually directly altered the lives of some of the people that were listening. And when he altered a life, the string of his guitar would turn blue. So there was a certain amount of magic in this book, and it was one of those books that's like mostly realistic, but with a little bit of magic sprinkled in. So it was definitely a really good read. I think Mitch Albom just has a really good knack for writing about just magical things. He's a really lyrical writer, and I think one of my favorite parts of this book was that it was narrated by the entity of music. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was definitely like a finding yourself kind of novel. I enjoyed the reading about the journey that Frankie Presto went through. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I gave this to my friend Kirsty. Some of you may know her from the book club because she loves magic and she loves music, and so I believe this book would be perfect for her. And so if that sounds like you as well, you should definitely go pick up this book. Really good. Another book that I read for my March-April TBR was Name to a Face by Robert Goddard. We went to Costa Rica for our honeymoon, and let me tell you, if you're going to a beach, you probably shouldn't take a hard copy of a book there because it just destroys it. You sort of like put it in your beach bag and sand gets all over it, and it's just terrible. This book ended up getting completely ruined, like split in half, and I'm just kind of choked about it because I really hate ruining novels, and pretty much all of the novels I brought to Costa Rica, they just don't look good anymore. But what can I say? They'll be sort of a souvenir of my honeymoon. This book is a mystery novel. It was a really interesting read. I haven't read a mystery novel in a long time. I used to be really into Nancy Drew, and for some reason, after I stopped reading Nancy Drew, I just hardly ever pick up mystery again. So this was a fun read for me to pick up. There was more than one aspect to the mystery and more than one thing going on. It seemed like there were like 5 or 6 strings to this mystery, and I had no idea how it was all going to come together in the end. I've seen some reviews that say this book is just like another one of his. It seems like he has a pattern in his writing, and this book was just another one falling into the same pattern. But since I haven't read any other Robert Goddard, I didn't see the pattern, so it was good for me. It was good. I think I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars in the end. I think in terms of suspense and drawing me in, I'm sure there are other mystery novels out there that will do it more so for me. But this was fun for the nostalgia aspect of mystery, and I think it's definitely inspired me to start picking up mystery more. Another book that I read was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and this was an interesting read for me. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've seen the movie, and I thought it was pretty funny. Just that sort of like weird, bizarre, like almost stupid humor. Stupid in a way that's just like, this is so dumb you can't help but laugh at it kind of thing. It's just funny. I don't read comedy books very often, and especially not like stupid humor comedy, so I was very interested to read this and see what I thought of it, and I ended up enjoying it. Like, I enjoyed the humor throughout it. The thing with this kind of book is I really enjoyed it while I was reading it for the 200 pages. However, I was thankful that it was only 200 pages. It was nice for a break from like my other reading, my more serious books, my emotional books. Like, it was a fun read, but I'm glad it didn't last longer than the 200 pages that it did. Unfortunately, this is another novel that just got trashed in Costa Rica, so bummer. The next book that I read on my We're Getting Married TBR is one that Mitch picked up for me when he was in Nigeria. He picked it up as a gift because it sounded interesting. It's The Circle by Dave Eggers. This book was interesting. I'm sort of like snickering about it because it's sort of one of those books when you're reading it, it's kind of intriguing, but then after you finish it, the more you think about it, the worse it gets for you in your mind. Like, it just really left me with a bitter taste in my mouth for more than one reason. But this book is basically a commentary on what the internet may possibly become in the future. It's a utopian novel, so this chick named May gets hired at this big internet creative company that sort of allows people to put what they're dreaming and make it into a reality. There's a lot of things I didn't like about this book, and I'm just gonna say right now that me and Mitch are actually planning on filming a separate video where we really go into our thoughts on a more detailed level, because I can't fit, you don't want to hear all my thoughts right now because this video will be too long in context with the rest of my wrap-up. But overall, I think the two main reasons I didn't love this novel is, first of all, Dave Eggers came in just way too hard, too fast with his point. You saw it within the first couple chapters. You saw where it was going, and then for the rest of the like 500-page novel, it was just really redundant and almost like frustratingly redundant. It was just sort of a frustrating read in that way, and I got bored of it about halfway through. Another reason I just really didn't care for this novel was the characters were really flat. I didn't find there was any development with any of them. I gave this one a generous 2 out of 5 stars, and I usually give 2 out of 5 stars to books that I just barely get through. I only give 1 stars to books that I absolutely like cannot finish because they're so bad. So this one only gets a 2 out of 5 because I got through it, and part of it, like for the first half of it, I was amused by it. But then it sort of started all going downhill from there, and it just got weird and got boring and repetitive and redundant, and yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this book, to be honest. Dave Eggers has a movie coming out with Tom Hanks starring in it based on another novel that he wrote, and they're actually turning this book into the movie. Mitch made the comment that this might actually be the one movie that is better than the book, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, we're definitely going to rant about it some more, so keep your eyes open for that. The next book that I completed was Beatrice and Virgil by Yann Martel. I actually really enjoyed this novel. It was more abstract, but I do enjoy the writing of Yann Martel. I know some of you don't care for him, but I do. I find him to be a creative writer. His writing really draws me in somehow. It's just different and intriguing. This book in particular was just cryptic enough to be interesting, but not so cryptic that you were just like frustrated by it. This book is about a writer who, a struggling author who gets this letter from this anonymous fan in the mail, and the letter consists of this story about like this prince who really enjoys killing animals, and also a script, an original script written by this anonymous author. And this letter is basically saying like, I need your help, but it's not really clear what he needs help with. So the author tracks this guy down, and the author just turns out to be just like really cryptic, and instead of just telling him what he needs help with, the guy thinks that he has to like read the whole script of his play to this author in order to sort of like develop as a concept, what he needs help with. And so you as a reader are also learning along with this author. We don't have any outside knowledge on what this guy wants that the author doesn't have. We're learning with this guy. There's a couple really cool scenes in this novel. Like the first scene that we see from this guy's play, Virgil was just trying to describe what a pear was to her, and it was actually a really beautiful scene, and I really appreciated the writing of Yann Martel in that scene. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it if you really like some more abstract concepts. The last book that I read that Mitch recommended for me for our We're Getting Married TBR is The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. I actually had a false start with this one. I started listening to this on audiobook before we got married and went to Costa Rica, but then I just noticed that I wasn't paying any attention at all. I started it over again, and I actually ended up really enjoying it, and it wasn't even too hard for me to start again because I had missed so much stuff in the book that it was basically like reading a whole new novel. It was crazy how much detail I missed. Kurt Vonnegut is a good writer. He has like a really funny, dry sense of humor, and I really appreciated that. This was another book, however, that I think would be better reading in hard copy, so you can almost there were lots of quotes that I was hearing that I wouldn't have minded underlining or really focusing on, and since I was listening to an audiobook, I just wasn't able to. So noted, next time I read a Kurt Vonnegut book, it's going to be on hard copy, and I'm sure I will have an even better experience, but possibly due to the fact that it was audiobook, I rated this one a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, and so then, to finish off my TBR for March and April, I had 2 books that I read on top of the ones that Mitch recommended. The first one was an audiobook that I had time to listen to, and that was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. And this was a very just fluffy contemporary novel about a girl who writes letters to the boys that she's in love with in order to stop loving them. She addresses the letters, and instead of mailing them, just puts them in a box, and she feels like she's emotionally over this boy. One day, though, somehow her letters get mailed out. Of course, drama ensues. It's a contemporary novel, so I give this one, I think, a 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't my favorite contemporary novel, but it was a nice, easy, fluffy, feel-good read. I honestly don't really have a lot to say about this book, which almost is part of the reason why it gets a 3.5 out of 5 rating. Like, I don't really have anything really to rave about, and I don't have anything to really bash either. So if you're looking for just like a nice, easy, contemporary read, I would recommend this one. It wasn't enough to inspire me to read the sequel right away, but I think it is definitely something I will get to maybe in the coming months when I'm looking for just like an easy listen on my audiobook again. And the final book that I read in March and April was our book club study read, and that was The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And so yeah, we read this for the Broken Book Club. I finally got to it around the end of April, so unfortunately I wasn't allowed to take part in a lot of discussion, but I'm really enjoying seeing the discussion that's coming up, and it's really, the discussion that's going on in the boards is really highlighting some of this book and really making it come even more alive for me. I did really enjoy this novel. It was emotional, and it was a fun read, trying to sort of dissect who Charlie was as a person. Overall, I think I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, and so that's it. That's all for my March and April wrap-up. I overall enjoyed most of the reads that I had. If you guys have read any of these novels, I am always open to discussion. Just throw me a comment down below, give me a shout out on Twitter. I'll put all my information down below for you. I'd love to chat with you and hear your thoughts. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Scent, when you read this, will be better than the movie. This is like space comedy. Space comedy. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to dive into this
Galactic guffaws.
Just going to be full of spoilers. I definitely want to share my real thoughts about the book, and so in order to do that, I definitely think that I'm going to be revealing certain things. So maybe go read the book and then come join us later. So yeah, see you later.